Hey, community, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, I'm Dr. Blaire, a doc in clinical psychology. And on this channel, we discuss psychology, inspiration, social justice, and all topics in between. First things first, hit that subscribe and bell button. I need to see you back next week. And of course, stay tuned because we're going to do a quick recap around why it's important that you tap into application. Keep watching. All right, so before we jump into this, I have to say thank you to every single person who attended the Battlefield Conference, contributed, donated tickets, or even was a sponsor. For every single person who sold into this, I am incredibly grateful. And without you, that day wouldn't have been so. And with that being said, for every person who did pour into this, I am praying that you get a return and some because it was a beautiful day, a beautiful first conference, if you may ask me. And I've gotten so much positive feedback up until this point. So, with that being said, so for every person who served, who spoke, who contributed, I am incredibly grateful for each of you. If you were there, then you all know that there was plenty of knowledge that was shared. And you all here have heard me say plenty of times that knowledge is powerful, but most importantly, without knowledge, we perish. And we talked about so much information was shared to people who were there. And my hope is that that information is translated over to application. Now, actually, within the past couple of days or so, I heard someone mention that application is power. It had me sitting down and I was thinking, I was like, wow, that is true. Application is power. In fact, knowledge is empowering. And I want to repeat that. Knowledge is empowering. It's the application that's powerful. And why is that? Not that knowledge isn't information or the information isn't powerful. It most certainly is, but it doesn't really reach its fullest potential, its fullest level of power until we actually begin to use it and apply it. Now I know that many of us have been to events, conferences, summits, things of that nature, or we even go to conversations. We listen to videos like this on YouTube all of the time. My question is, are we allowing for that information to translate over to the things that we do, into our feet? And so we want it to not just penetrate our hearts and to settle in our minds, but how do we make sure that we're doing it? And one of the things that I challenged every single person who was there is take that information and take one or two things that you're really focusing on for the next 3 months. Allow that to really settle into the things that you do and then move on to something next. And I know that internally it can feel overwhelming when you get a wealth of information as to where to start. And that's where I encourage you to prioritize, sit down and think about what is most important for me, what is most important for my organization, what is most important for my family, and move from there. We can't do all of the things. As much as we want to do all of the things, we can't do all of the things. But as we are working on what is most important, it is important that we continue to prioritize, to rearrange, to continue to reevaluate as we move forward. Now, when you're doing that, you're taking your information, you're applying it. This is most important because of these reasons. This is my time frame, and how do I actually address it? But while you're doing that, it gives you an opportunity to stop and actually think about how am I going to do this? And I know that we talked about some information, some core principles. We even went through application. We even gave strategy and solution. We even went through how exactly do you do this? Now it is up to you to actually start to apply it. Now it is up to you to actually start to do it. And so this is where, again, as I mentioned, we want our heart, our mind, and our feet to match one another, to come in alignment so that we can see the fullest power, which again goes back to that application is power and knowledge is empowering. And I love that so much. I want you all not only to be empowered, but I want you to represent what exactly power is and utilize it. Because as you shift as an individual, your community will shift. And there was a question that was, or I shouldn't say a question, multiple questions that were thrown out from the audience. around more from a collective perspective, and we address that as panelists. I mean, my challenge is that think about what we went over in those workshops for those who were there. When you're in those workshops, we actually went through this is what we need to do to combat the attack and the tactics of the enemy. And just to be fair, for those who weren't there and who was watching this video, the same principles are to be applied no matter whether you're at the battlefield conference, whether you watch one of my other videos, or you watch someone else's video, or you were at a different conference. It doesn't change. If you are in a place or a space where you're gathering information, you're learning something, or you're getting a review of information, it is up to you to figure out how exactly do you apply that. How do you apply the strategies, those tactics? How do you walk it out? And that's what this is about. This is to encourage you to make sure that you recognize there's a difference between getting information and applying the information. And even though at the battlefield conference, we talked about how you can practice it, we even practiced it with one another. Even if you were there in those workshops and you got that application tip in practice with the mental health professionals that were there, that doesn't necessarily feel the same when you're out there on your own doing this. And so I'm here to encourage you. If you were there at the conference, continue to come here on this channel. We have new content coming out every single week, but this will help encourage you and keep you on that right path as you are making changes and adjustments in your life, improvements in your life. But if you were not there at the conference and you were at another place, or you weren't able to join, whatever the case may be, the same principle still applies, that this is a place where you can continue to come and be encouraged in your shifts, in your changes, in your improvements that you are making. And let me tell y'all, I am so deeply warmed by the engagement that I saw. I'm so deeply warmed by the support that I saw amongst one another. That is what community is all about. That is what we are to represent. And so as we experience that at the conference, it is our responsibility to then take it on outside of those four walls and demonstrate and exemplify that in our own physical community, so on and so forth. And it was even the engagement that I saw with the wellness vendors, that people were really engaged in asking questions and interested in purchasing. That is how we support one another. That is how we keep the dollar within our community. Y'all, I almost did cartwheels, but I don't know how to, so I decided not to because I didn't want to get hurt. I believe that many of the thought-provoking questions, conversations that were had are still turning wheels to this day and will continue. And I believe that this is justice. This is a way that we reclaim our justice. And I believe that many not only released, reclaimed, but they also reestablished their justice at the Battlefield Conference and will continue to do so. As I mentioned earlier, many thought-provoking questions that aren't necessarily able to be answered in that moment. But as your wheels continue to turn, as you continue to think about this, as you continue to work on applying, that is how you continue to reestablish your justice for yourself, for your community as well. And for those of you who are like, man, I missed the Battlefield Conference, as I mentioned, there's more to come. But on January 14th, I will be having a online wellness workshop for you to start your new year well. It is important that because life is so busy, life gets so full, that we continue to be in spaces where we have an opportunity to work on ourselves and that we are able to do it collectively. So we'll be coming together as a group. There is limited space, but head on down to this website and make sure that you are grabbing your seat before it is full. Now, if you missed the Battlefield Conference, you don't have to miss the wellness workshop that I will be hosting. It's an online workshop where we will focus on areas of our wellness, reflecting on the past and also the present in order to apply some better or healthy coping mechanisms for us to maintain our wellness. Wellness is something that we have to continue to work at. It's almost like time management skills. You never get too good at it, especially because life is dynamic and it changes, it shifts, and we have to shift and change with it. And so with that being said, come on and join us and register. The link is down there below and also in the description box. I will also post all of this information on my other social media platforms. So be sure that you are also following me on those other platforms so that you can keep up with all of the events that are going to be open to the public. And so this one is limited seating. So I'm hoping so you can snag a seat before. We'll be holding it on January 14th, right after all of the holidays and the celebrations, so that you can start your new year well. Wellness is important, especially in these times. And I don't think that anybody missed the lesson. I hope not. After COVID-19, is that we have to be prepared for emergencies. We have to be prepared psychologically for major events to happen in life, and that is something that actually could shift and offset our wellness majorly. And if we are doing things consistently in order to maintain, we actually continue to build on our mental stamina so that things like that, not to say that it won't impact you or influence you, it will, but that it doesn't do so much damage as it did for many of us during COVID-19. With that being said, I hope to see you there. I hope to see you involved and also for future events. But I wanted to keep this one short. Main key point was what? That information or knowledge is empowering and that application is powerful. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with your community, and be sure that you're sharing with someone specific who needs to hear that knowledge is empowering and application is powerful. And remember, before you go, and I see you next time, if I'm great and you're great, then we're a great community.